You cannot make it to the mountaintop without first climbing the mountain. The path to greatness is rugged and steep, filled with obstacles that will test your fortitude. Are you willing to suffer through the pain and turmoil to reach the summit? The choice is yours. Remain stagnant in the valley of mediocrity, or embrace the suffering required to ascend to rarefied heights. What is suffering but an opportunity to prove your mettle? The fire that forges the strongest blades must burn white hot. Will you let the flames consume you, or emerge tempered and hardened? The coddled soul shrivels from a few sparks, while the resolute mind uses the inferno's furious fuel for growth. Think not that successful individuals have skirted hardship. Every titan of industry, revolutionary leader, or accomplished artist has undergone their rite of passage through suffering's crucible. The path was not handed to them, but seized through grit and perseverance amidst turmoil. Have you felt the sting of betrayal, the grip of poverty, or carried weighty burdens? Good. Such experiences should not be regretted, but cherished as tempering forces that hardened your spirit. Without facing down adversity, how could you fully appreciate the sweet taste of triumph? The fragile blossom swiftly withers under intense conditions, while the mighty oak's roots grip tighter and branches grow thicker when assailed by storms. Will you be the delicate bloom, or an implacable force of nature? Those of true grit do not just endure suffering, but metabolize it into muscular willpower. Imagine if pain could be alchemized into power. What if every slight, rejection, and failure added fortifying rings around your core? Suffering's lashes would no longer break you, but render you more resilient, calloused against the buffets of fate. Each tribulation transcended would elevate your capability. Why then do so many recoil from this truth? That to grow, you must suffer. The weak opt for the path of least resistance, slithering away from any hint of discomfort or exertion. But you must ask yourself, what rewards has comfort ever yielded beyond enervating stagnation? The most cherished victories are those hard won through blood, sweat, and tears. When you have strained every sinew, pushed beyond your perceived limits, and risen from the depths of despair, that is when the sweetness of achievement can be fully savored. Do you think the Olympic champion enjoyed an easy road free of sacrifices and anguished training? No. Behind their gilded medal lies a trail of suffering, grueling workouts when their body begged for rest, nurturing injuries and lonesome rehabilitation, and continually visualizing victory to persist through each torturous practice. But in that final moment, as the gold is draped around their neck and their nation's anthem rings out, all the suffering is forgotten and transcended in an ecstatic wave of earned triumph. The path of least resistance breeds only meager trifles, while the road of relentless self-challenge leads to glory. Make no mistake, I do not claim the treacherous way is easy. It is a gauntlet you must continually summon the will to run, a Gordian knot that will test your determination to keep unknotting it each day. The pain is inescapable, and the temptation to retreat into complacency will be fierce. In those moments when you are battered and bloodied, and the siren's call of comfort beckons seductively, you must recall your deep motivations with Spartan clarity. Why did you first embark on this arduous journey? Was it not to forge an exceptional life? To rewrite your limitations and persist until your dreams became tangible? Suffering's sting is but temporary federal pressure that stimulates exceptional growth. From the charred ashes of searing challenges, the splendid phoenix of your potential is catalyzed to unfurl its glorious plumage. Will you let this fire be snuffed out before it can fully blaze? Those who lack the courage to cross the scorching coals will be forever relegated to a wistful existence on this side of the glass, watching the champions live out their heroic destinies in the arena. It is the rare person who is willing to pay the price of fatigue. Bodily punishment and self-mastery required for true greatness. So I put the question to you: which path will you choose? The gentle descent down the deceptively easy trail that soon fades into a miasma of lost opportunities and unfulfilled potential? Or the uphill scaling of the precipice, every inch fought through gritting teeth, lacerated by loose shale, sinews screaming from the merciless gradient, but promising the breathtaking view and rewarding glory at the summit? In your most introspective moments, you know the answer. You are not fashioned for the tame tranquility of the herd, but to continually ascend ever higher, shedding anemic complacency with each phase of suffering overcome. Like an eagle defying the thin air with every labored wing beat, your spirit yearns to push beyond the limits of the ordinary. But make no mistake, you will only rise as high as the intensity of the fire below you. If your desire smolders with just a small campfire's flame, your ascent will be modest. But if an inferno of ambition and hunger rages within, fanned by the winds of unrelenting perseverance and sacrifice, you will rocket through the stratosphere driven by thermonuclear impulse. The choice of which inferno to build is yours. You can succumb to the gravitational pull of least resistance and build just a small pile of kindling. Or you can gather the largest, most prepared stack of dried timber, pour resinous ambition over it, and prepare to immolate yourself as the sacrifice stoking an all-consuming blaze. Those who choose the latter are the rare breed who achieve immortality, not by bodily preservation, but by the greater permanency of having their achievements edify and elevate the world indefinitely after they are gone. This is the path of titans like Da Vinci, Tesla, and Galileo, suffering through opposition, material lack, and even persecution and imprisonment. But still they endured, for they'd have built a conflagration within that could not be easily extinguished. What inferno will you kindle within to propel yourself? What noble aims are worth suffering for? Identify them. Lash yourself like a rocket to their celestial ambition. Then blast off, immolating the inertia of your previous self and leaving a trail of flames that will inscribe your presence into humanity's eternal memory. Though the searing agony of that rocket's climb will be excruciating, I promise the vantage view from the heights will be so stunningly boundless that the sacrifices instantly appear small. Having shed your carapace of creature comforts, you will spread your wings as a new being baptized in the stellar streams, ascending on the perpetual thermals of heroic effort. Choice is yours. Embrace the gift of life's inevitable suffering and transmute it into accelerating fuel, or cower from its mere specter and remain forever earthbound, watching impotently as the daring few illuminate the skies with brilliance. Those who choose wisely learn that, as the adage goes, with self-discipline most anything is possible. But do not be lulled into thinking this path I extol is traveled by blissful solitude. Far from it. The road to greatness is a lonely, desolate trek through icy headwinds and buffeting storms that will threaten to break your will at every turn. The comfortable masses cannot fathom why anyone would willingly embrace such arduous suffering when the warm respite of mediocrity is but a few steps away. You will be ridiculed, scorned, and have your motives questioned by the petty-minded cowards who gaze upon your daring ascent with equal parts confusion and contempt. Why put yourself through such grueling extremes? They will ask ye, assuming their own puny limits are the boundaries against which all are measured. Life is so much easier and more pleasurable without all that unnecessary struggle. Smile and permit their scorn to whistle past like the faint breeze it is. For you understand what they cannot conceive, that life's greatest rewards are reserved for those who forfeit the simple, unexamined comforts bestowed from birth, like relinquishing a childish toy. You have outgrown the placid meadow that pacifies the herd, electing instead to pioneer into the untrammeled wilderness, sustaining yourself solely by the fortitude seared into your sinews. With each lung-burning step up the precipice, away from the verdant prisons of conformity, you will cast off another calcifying layer of fear and artificial constraints. When you ascend far enough to gaze back upon the sprawling valley of mediocrity, those poor souls will appear so tiny against the glorious panorama you have earned through your suffering, retreating like ants into irrelevance. Their impotent barbs will be rendered inaudible over the thundering pulse of your valiant heart. Gradually, through years of tenacious perseverance that would break lesser mortals, you will join the elite cadre of adventurers familiar with the adrenaline-tinged ether of the highest altitudes. This rarefied plane is reserved solely for those who have paid the blood toll in full, with minds hardened against the psychic tempests that scatter the soft-willed. Here you will find yourself among the immortal breed of conquerors, heroes and virtuosos, those who carved their epic legacies by enduring storms of anguish that would splinter ordinary people into smoldering wick stubs. And yet, with the omnidirectional vista stretched at your feet like an endless basin of potential, you will feel no vainglory, for you have bypassed the petty need to prove yourself to small-minded skeptics. Instead, you will overflow with silent gratitude for the privilege of merging with the immortal flow of disciplined adventurers, exploring the vast realms of human capability. For it is on these hallowed climbs that you will discover deeper receptacles of fortitude that dwarf the illusory limits you once accepted as unalterable. The resources of stamina you harness to survive each fresh hell on your ascent now lie in replenished abundance, thirsting to be completely spent towards loftier summits. Thus we crest one mountain only to sight an even loftier, more daunting peak shimmering in the distance. But now you will laugh in the face of its forbidding ramparts, for you recognize this as your eternal destiny as a pathfinder, to identify and conquer each successive pinnacle on the endless horizon, rising in stature with every grueling campaign. Every new plateau attained will birth within you a sweeter longing to press on towards further vantages, each one more breathtaking and exhilarating than the last. Like a never-ending staircase spiraling towards the heavens, you will find yourself calmly shedding every extraneous attachment, piece by piece, until only the purifying essence of your ambition remains. This, at last, is the hidden gift confined within suffering's maw, the unlocking of your highest human potential, crystallizing you into an implacable juggernaut of purpose and capability. For what use have you for passing indulgences, when the very ethers you breathe are spun from the intoxicating ambrosia of self-mastery? Does this sound like fantasy? Improbable yearning for a mere mortal with earthly limits? Then you have not yet encountered the molten core of unquenchable defiance that fuels the supremely motivated. For this inner inferno does not observe the mundane laws that constrain ordinary thought and matter. This is the limitless dimension of pure will, to choose or create your own reality, unbounded from circumstances. Cast off all anchors of convenient excuses and permit your aspirations to burn with volcanic intensity. Let this blaze of absolute determination incinerate every shackle of doubt, scarcity, and fear until your mind blazes like a supernova. In this scorching alchemical furnace forged from sheer want and discipline, you will find boundless energy to vaporize any obstacle that dares impede your quest. For you have evolved beyond the anemic soul that made peace with limits. You are now a being of pure, unstoppable purpose, an immortal force that will continue to be in ceaseless forward motion, conquering obstacles by the sheer audacity of refusing to abandon the trail. This is your new identity, an eternal voyager destined to depart one summit only to eternally pursue the next distant peak shimmering on the improbable horizon. Yes, Such unwavering ascension will deal you innumerable fresh wounds. With each new altitude conquered, fresh abrasions and scar tissue will accrue, reminders of the tolls extracted to surmount each precipice, but like carving a diamond from a humble lump of coal. This compression and abrasion is the price to behold the stunning brilliance revealed from the epic journey. So soldier on, my intrepid explorers, no matter the obstacles littering your path. The universe does not restrict those who march forth with unrelenting, towering purpose and will not languish or stagnate. There can be no accommodation between the burning impetus of possibility and the shackles of false limits. Choose now to ignite the unquenchable flame, the primordial spark that separates the gods from the common clay. Lose yourself in this blinding illumination, surrendering completely to its celestial beckoning. Allow it to consume every comfort, every excuse, every shred of your former scarred husk that craved complacency and tepid limitation. Then, baptized anew in its radiant deliverance, stride forth towards the impossible vista, emboldened by this ethereal fire searing your path eternal. For the greatest sin would be to let it wane from neglect or trepidation, sentenced to the suffocating realm of dimmed potential and unlit dreams. So let this inferno blaze unfettered within you, the sacred pilot light of an immortal destiny. This inner furnace requires constant stoking through the fuels of sacrifice, pain, and relentless perseverance. But tend to it with vigilant dedication. And I can make you this solemn vow. Your uniquely blazing path will become an eternal beacon visible from all horizons, a celestial inspiration for those still adrift and confined by self-imposed limits. The choice has been put before you, the flames stoked, and the summit lays in the distance. Now decide your destiny. Will you chart a course of mythic consecration, letting the ethereal fire refine you into an unstoppable truth? Or slink back into the somnolent shades of mediocrity, far from the searing light and unbounded horizons of mastery? Greatness and growth await those who embrace suffering's abrasive tutelage as the sculptor of their ultimate potential. I can sense some of you wavering at the dawning prospect I have laid before you. The path of self-immolating determination I extol is not for the faint of heart. You wonder if such an all-consuming pursuit is truly worth the sacrifice and endless suffering required. Let me be clear, I do not romanticize or trivialize the monumental toll this journey will exact upon your body, mind, and spirit. The tuition for greatness is not paid in simple currency, but in the priceless coinage of blood, sweat, tears, and an unrelenting assault upon your willpower and fortitude. At times, the fiery cauldron of anguish will feel utterly overwhelming, as if the entire weight of the world is driving you downwards into the molten depths. Your mind will rebel, screaming for you to abandon this masochistic crusade and retreat to the comfort of mediocrity's gentle meadows far below. Every ancestral instinct will recoil from the merciless forge reshaping you into something harder. In these moments of fire-bathed darkness, the warm bedrock of convenient quitting will look so infinitely beguiling. How simple it would be to extinguish these searing ambitions plaguing you like torture devices, and instead drift into infinite ease and painlessness, to lick your wounds for a seeming eternity, convalescing from the abuse you've already endured. Complacency's harlot song will croon to you in your most fragile moments. You've suffered enough, my sweet raven. You need not press onwards into this brutal unknown at the expense of your very sanity. Rest now on the downy plumes of all you have achieved. Let these torments be slowed off like a soiled robe as you rejoin the comforts of the flock. You have nothing more to prove. But I tell you here and now, trusting those honeyed lies is a death sentence for the awakened spirit. To succumb to that trance of gentle surrender is to lobotomize the very essence of identity and purpose that make you gloriously human. All that remain is a hollow, haunted shell, neutered of all burning aspiration and condemned to wander aimlessly, never again to behold the realms of grandeur visible only through the rites of suffering. That siren's pacifying mantra is the calling code for the realm of the perpetually dissatisfied, the province of broken souls who abdicated from their heroic trials in pursuit of the path of least resistance. This squalid, airless underworld teems with the bloated, atrophied husks of quitters, slowly liquefying into pools of regret for having willingly discarded their fire-baptized primacy. Do you want to join their moribund company? A grotesque gallery of aborted potential, eternally shackled and weighed down by the unlived lives. The dreams interrupted, the heights gone unconquered. Surely the pitiable moans and anguish howls of these shades serve as dire enough warning against succumbing to that vampiric path of unchallenging indolence. No, you were cut from rarer essence and reserved for loftier valors. To shrink from your hero's arduous journey at this juncture would be far crueler than any torture suffering's rawest forges could levy. It would be to deny the innermost siren issuing your sacred calling towards grandeur, an obscenity and profound desecration of your highest truth. So I put this to you. My champions, my intrepid adventurers destined for summits unseen, hold incredibly dear this blistering, devouring fire stoked within your core, not in spite of its searing agonies, but because of its purifying initiation into the immortal mysteries. For as the poet said, the miracle is walking on fiery furnaces, unmelting. This is the rite you have sworn your sacred vow to conquer. Yes, this blinding immolation will leave you undone, your former self reduced to smoldering cinders to be scattered perpetually in your wake. You will be unmade anew in furnaces of adversity and remolded in the terrifying chaos of ambition's blast furnace, cast out the other side as something more ferocious, unstoppable and glorious. An immortal phoenix reborn from suffering's raging pyre. This ultimate transformation is your destiny. Whether you survive its alchemical fires or succumb to the temptations of ash and ruin, the choice of your immortal liftoff or permanent extinguishing is being weighed in the crucible of the present. Will you endure the searing temperatures of this metamorphosis, transcending each fresh hell to emerge ever harder, ever purer, ever closer to merging with the immortal ethers? Or will you douse these celestial flames? Damn yourself to the suffocating, crepuscular realms of thwarted ambition? Never forget, those who shrink from the agonies of self-creation damn themselves to obscurity, to be as ghosts forever parched to taste from the ambrosia of challenged greatness, haunting the dwellings of those brave souls who pressed on fearlessly into self-mastery. So let this be your ultimate defiance and pledge, to endure suffering's relentless forging until you stand transmuted, baptized, and uplifted as a glorious work worthy of inspired awe. Though the cauterizing fires may leave you blackened and scarred, you will remain defiantly upright, burning ever more brilliantly as a sacred pillar of determined will. Let every new wound or trauma inflicted along this hero's path serve as but another sacrificial branding into your exalted identity. With each scar formed, you grow progressively more impervious to familiar pains, having transcended them. Let these marks of initiation be worn as emblems of supreme distinction, heraldry earned in the molten campaigns of becoming. At long last, having undergone the baptisms of suffering's severest tests, you will emerge into the blinding summit panoramas to which you are destined, both tested and triumphant, crowned with the majesty you struggled so valiantly to birth, not in spite of the hells endured, but because of them. For this was your exacting vow, penned in eternal stars since your first glimmer of sentient ambition, to ignore suffering's gnawing pangs, to instead pursue facile indulgences, would be a treacherous resignation from the sacred compact you made with the fires of higher purpose. Bathe yourselves in the searing alchemical streams of towering ambition and unrealized potential. Scorch away every doubt, every hesitation, every shred of fear remaining in your shell. Let your comfortable crust of identity drop away as you are forged anew in relentless discipline's blast furnace. Be unmade, rekindled as blinding titans of unconquerable determination. May the inferno of your immolation be visible to all as a perpetual reminder of the glory to be seized through the purifying draft of suffering's rites. Until this ultimate trial by fire is past, behold burning in your consciousness the immortal vow you swore to the highest realms of achievement. Never forsake that primordial pact to surmount all that stands before you. The suffering ahead is incomprehensible, but so too are the vistas of inspiration and ability reserved for those who endure its abrasive tempering. Charge forth into your supernova of molten perseverance, for it alone can propel you to those rarefied regions of growth and attainment that await the immortally forged. Never forget, your destiny was never to reside peacefully in the tepid valleys carved out by others. Your sacred calling, the primordial fire that smelted you into existence, demands that you continually ascend upwards through the crucible of suffering and sacrifice. For it is only by vanquishing each fresh hell and enduring level of purification you etch yourself into immortality's pantheon as a sovereign creator rather than a domesticated subject. The choice has been put to you with searing clarity. Resign yourself to a permanent coma of unrealized potential, or continue storming the heavens through furious bombardments of perseverance and iron will. Every instinct may cry for you to lapse into quiescence, to forswear these agonizing stresses in favor of infinite repose. But you must laugh in the face of such weak whispers, for you have evolved beyond the leash of petty comforts and mortal boundaries. You are a being of pure, uncompromising ambition, an immortal beacon searing its path into the cosmos through an enduring inferno of disciplined purpose. So let this blaze roll from your core to the farthest horizons, your very existence an eternal gauntlet thrown at the feet of circumstances. May each fresh lash of suffering's forging drivers be answered by an even more blinding surge of determined incandescence. Suffer you must, but embrace those pangs as the chiseling forces that mold you into a supremely hardened icon of attainment. For you have outgrown the fleeting trappings and smallish boundaries that entrap the feeble-willed. You are now fused with the perpetual thermals of heroic mastery, created to continually outdistance your prior self. With every setback endured, every obstacle combusted by your immolating energies, you will attain a new, more rarefied elevation. From these dizzying altitudes of growth, you will marvel at the eternal vista of potential unfurling before you. And you will inhale that breathtaking panorama deeply into your sinews, igniting an even fiercer inferno that renders you incandescent, inextinguishable, and unstoppable. This is the eternal covenant you have sworn to continually outstrip the confines of your previous being through cyclical rites of transcendence and immolation. No worldly attachments can be permitted to slacken your meteoric acceleration. For now, your true identity and purpose burns as an all-consuming force, one that incinerates all shackles and clears an infinite trail by its sheer celestial radiance. So ignite yourself, forever devouring the limitations that once bound you. Become an insatiable blaze, raging eternally as both unstoppable force and immovable object. Ascend ceaselessly through each alchemical ordeal until you forge yourself into a living exemplar of unconquerable persistence and immortal ambition. Your charge is clear, to continually transcend through furious growth until recognized as an imperishable archetype of realized potential. Nothing less is worthy of the immortal fire raging within you. So let it blaze evermore ferociously, scorching the earth with its transcendent trail and smelting you into the supreme immortal ideal you were always destined to become.